Okay, come down.
The subject that troubles me, and I think we're here to talk about, is basically foreign policy. And there, governments lie everywhere in the world with impunity. And they do secret stuff. They whether it's the CIA or the old KGB or anybody, and it takes you, for instance, in the case of Vietnam, which I did cover, and I was in Vietnam at the time of the famous Gulf of Tonkin incident where North Vietnam was supposed to have attacked American ships. 20 years later, I was working at the LA Times, and we finally got the documents that said it was all a fraud. There was no second Gulf of Tonkin incident. The government knew it. Lyndon Johnson knew it. So my concern is that when we talk about foreign policy, which after all has very profound implication of destroying the whole world and getting a lot of people killed and so forth, as we saw with George W. Bush in the Gulf War, the fact of the matter is they lie with impunity. And that's obviously happening in the Ukraine on all sides. It happened in Afghanistan on all sides. And there, we really, the challenge of independent journalism is a real challenge. And it means going up against ideas of patriotism and nationalism, and it's very difficult. And then you get into red baiting and McCarthyism, and anybody who disagrees with the government's analysis on the Ukraine, they must be a Putin agent. And we're living in a very ugly time now. I'll just throw in my 2 cents. For my money, this is much more difficult time to report than during the height of the Cold War and in Vietnam, because there was a peace movement. There were critics. There were people, even in the mainstream media, who challenged the dominant narrative. We had American troops involved, skin in the game. Now we're just supplying lethal weapons to others. And I think that have never lived in a time that, for my money, is more frightening and in which the media has been more irresponsible.
Yeah, well,
that's my little editorial.
That's your spiel.
I just wanted to throw it out there. Okay?
Yeah. That's your spiel, and you're sticking to it. The Scheer spiel.
Yeah. Well, I just journalism is always going to be tough. These days, it's not going to be financially rewarded unless you work for some fat cat who likes the idea. But I don't put down journalists when I put down the product journalism.
Yeah, of course.
And I must say, I one reason I like going on shows like this, I think I want to make people aware that we're talking about the big ball game here. If we're talking about the possibility of nuclear war, we're talking about, China and the U.S. getting it on, Russia and the U.S. getting it. We are talking about the very real possibility of the end of the humanity. I'm the guy who talked to Ronald Reagan and the first President Bush about winnable nuclear war. I wrote those stories for the LA Times, and I covered this issue of arms control in the old Soviet Union and in Washington as well. I've never experienced such a giddy time about war. It's treated like a video game or something. Oh, we're winning. And we blasted in Crimea. Well, are their schools a fair game? Are their civilians fair game? It's so one-sided. I've never been I was in Israel and Egypt at the end of the 6-Day War. I was in Vietnam, Cambodia, a lot of different places. I've never seen reporting be this one-sided. That's really the heart of it. I'm not saying virtue is on the Russian side or on the Ukrainian side. That's to figure out once you know what the facts are. But the reporting is the most extremely biased reporting that I've seen. And if you dare challenge the narrative, as some, heroic journalists have done, including Chris Hedges, who writes for us at Scheer Post, wow, they're going to be smeared. Matt Taibbi, who you've done work with. That guy is just doing common sense reporting. He has a big knowledge base. He's familiarity with the languages. He's covered the region. But if he says something that goes against the narrative, everybody's they want to toss him in jail eventually. So it's a very ugly time.